let's try some of the basil beer.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I don't have a label for this one, but this one will be out in Bombers.
I think the viewers will trust that it's the basil beer without the label.
They're gonna have to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Now this is actually last year's batch, right?
This is last year's batch. Okay. Yeah. We actually bottled this up to send a couple competitions over the last last year.
This beer won a gold, right?
It just won a gold in the what was it, the Carolina Cup. So we and it's surprisingly clear. I guess it does a really good job of clearing up in the bottle over a year period. This is brewed with raw wheat that we get locally, and this is brewed with Pilsner malt. Unfortunately, not so local, but we're working.
Is there a local Pilsner malt?
Yeah, Riverbend. Riverbend's working on some Pilsner malt. They've got a few.
I'm more familiar with the Farm Boy Farms.
Okay. Yeah. They're doing their malt stuff too. But Riverbend's got a Pilsner, they got a Munich style, and then they've got their ale. So
excellent.
Yeah.
So this beer was one of the when Fullsteam first opened up.
This beer was there,
and it was like picking basil off of a plant and eating it. It was amazing.
Yeah. This was a beer that I came up with mainly because we had a bunch of recipes that we had done on the small system, and we weren't quite sure how the kettle was going to react and how it was going to do, and so we came up with a basic beer, basic saison, wheat and Pilsner, with white yeast 3711.
Okay.
It was a yeast I was familiar with, so I knew it was going to...
The French saison yeast.
French saison.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to dry the ever-living sweetness out of the beer.
That yeast will crunch on anything.
Yeah, it is. We had to mash it. The first batch, we realized we had to mash it in a little hot to keep it from turning to basic just water.
Right.
It was amazing. So we just I came up with this recipe just on a whim. It's got the basil in it because, man, basil is so beautiful and effervescent, and it would fit right in with a nice dry saison, low ABV to make it easy on our first batches, and 32 IBUs because, well, that's my nickname, and
right.
Isn't that funny? Probably not. So that's what we did, and it ended up being a hit. It ended up being something that we had to go back and go, well, what did we do? We need to recreate
Gotta make this again.
We gotta make this again because everyone's buying it like crazy. So we made a few adjustments to the grist and made a few adjustments to the basil and got it dialed in, and
right.
And again, having the mash in a little warmer than we were anticipating in the first place, just to keep it from completely drying out. But it keeps its, I mean, this is a year on, and it's still got a very strong basil nose.
It's still got the basil. Yeah, absolutely. It's a little more effervescent.
Yeah,
I think the saison yeast may have kept chewing on some things.
It might have been, yeah. We kept this one cold, so that's one thing we'll have to keep an eye on as we go into.
I mean, that could just be my memory too.
But it's bubbling like crazy.
Yeah.
That
held up very well for such a light beer.
Yeah, and it's refreshing to see that because we didn't know how long some of those basil aromas were going to stick around.
Right.
You think of an IPA where you drink it fresh. Basil.
Oh, in a month you can tell a difference. Yeah.
Basil I thought would be the same way, and here we are a year later drinking a very fresh tasting batch of this beer.
And you just started brewing this again.
Yeah, it's the summer seasonal. So we just started brewing it again, and it'll be basically available throughout the summer.
Cool. So hopefully by the time people see this, they can come down here and get some basil beer.
They come down here and see it. Yeah, I imagine it should not be a problem.
Well, how much basil do you guys go through for? I mean, I guess if you can.
It depends. So it's 3 pounds per batch, only 3 pounds. Which the first time I ever saw 3 pounds of basil, I was blown away. I mean, it's basically some people's backyard. It's the whole bush, you know.
Right.
3 pounds looks like a lot, and then as I've grown accustomed to seeing 3 pounds, you know, not that much. It's only 3 pounds. It's only 3 pounds.
How big is the batch?
We're doing 12 barrels at a time, and we do that twice a day.
Okay.
And we'll do five batches to fill 60. So you're looking at quite a bit of basil.
Yeah.
Not necessarily on one shot going into the kettle, but
right.
You know.
Do you guys add it to the hot wort? Like
yeah, we treat it similar to a hop. We basically throw it in at 15 and flame out.
Okay.
So it's like maybe it's the last 10 minutes of the boil and then flame out. So
right.
the whirlpool gets a dose of the basil too.
And you guys generally whirlpool for what, about 20 minutes?
It's the pump's actually running for about minute and a half to 2 minutes just to get a good swirl, and then we let it settle for 20 minutes.
Okay.
So it is in the hot wort for 20 minutes plus.
Right.
Yeah. And then the boil is extracting, and sometimes it's a little greener than this, but we realize we're extracting some of the chlorophyll too, which
right.
adds a little bit of the bitterness. Chlorophyll apparently is a quite bitter substance, so to toss the basil leaves in, and actually most of the time we actually toss in the stalks too, because they're full of flavor.
Right.
Not necessarily just vegetal straight up, but it's got that basil aroma too. And we toss the whole thing in, and it lends to some of that kind of green looking saison, you know.
Did you ever try dry hopping with the basil?
We have back when we were doing test batches of it, you know, playing around on the pilot system. We've tried our hand at dry hopping with it, and the biological risk is a little too much.
Right.
You know, trying to sanitize basil to go into a big batch is risky enough. We found that the amount of aroma, fresh aroma coming even off 10-minute to flame out, has been more than enough.
Oh, cool.
So,
yeah. I look forward to tasting a fresh batch.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to compare what bottles we have left and